Okay, and so you're Matt Handy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Tim Marusik. Of course, we know each other.
Yeah.
And one of the cool ways in which we know each other is you were in a class of mine called Work Life, and I remember this so clearly talking to you because I thought, man, this guy's got a vision. This guy's got a vision. And I was wondering if it was real, and now here you are years later. Coming back into the mission, and you were encouraging alumni yesterday with some powerful words. You had a beautiful wife. You're having your second child. She's halfway through her pregnancy, and you guys just look like the epitome of a success story. And your faith and your enthusiasm blew me away. So if you don't mind, let me ask very briefly how you ended up in a homeless shelter. And then I want to hear more about how you not only got out, but have been thriving.
Sure. So it's a much longer story to actually get me into the mission. I will try to give the short of the long. I was court ordered to do a 3-year program, and originally I was sent up to LA, and one thing kind of led to another, and I ended up back down in San Diego. Looking for a long-term residential, and you guys facilitated that. It's typically a year program. You guys allowed me to stay here for like 21 months.
I didn't realize that. Okay, good. And that was court ordered, so the 21 months met the requirement of the courts. So let's just stop there for a moment and let's talk about you in this organization. I noticed you kind of kept kind of a modest, low-key, almost a stealth mode. What did you go through in terms of this transformation? What changed in you? Because it sounds like huge changes have occurred.
Yeah, I talk about this pretty often, right? That my addiction really ran its course to its logical end. And that is a rare thing, I think, in this field to run into. I did kind of keep a low key.
Now, for late people, let's just say myself, wanting to really understand what you mean by run its course. What does that mean to people who don't really understand addiction?
I mean, ultimately, the way that I explain this is that I had the full benefit of my own suffering. And because of that, I was allowed to really experience the depth and weight of the consequences of my decisions. And even though a lot of people obviously experience suffering because of addiction and all that, I feel that there's normally an outlet for them to be able to grab onto, and it's it manifests in like codependency and sometimes enabling. There wasn't anything like that in my life that I could like reach out to.
Yeah.
And so, I'm the oldest of 10 kids. I didn't talk to my family for over a decade. And I was really doing this on my own. And because of that, like through prison terms and homelessness and just all the poor decisions that I was making, there wasn't a branch that I could really hold on to, and so I had to deal with the consequences of my decisions.
The way you put that is incredible. That's a powerful message for people, particularly whether they're wrestling with addiction or they love someone who's wrestling with addiction. And that's kind of what I learned in my family is this loved one of mine, until she hit the ground over and over and over, and the world was giving her consequences that were incredibly painful.
Yeah.
I don't think it got her attention. So you land in here, and there's something about you that was different. What is it that had changed in you? What changed you? Tell me about your process of becoming the man you are today. What happened here?
So I will say this: when I got here, that process had already been well underway. The swing was in full effect, right? I was done. Like, I fell out of love with drugs years before I stopped using them, and so the romance of it all, like, I was in the divorce phase of that relationship, and so by the time I got here, I no longer wanted the consequences of using. and I was willing to do anything that it took to no longer deal with those consequences. Also, I was I had a lot of time over my head. Like they weren't messing with me anymore. They were really serious about where I was at in the legal system and stuff. And so my journey while I was here, though, was it was kind of like the last step. It was a very long process to get me here. We really don't. If we had a couple of years, we could really talk about that. But the really the last piece that fell into place while I was here was the God component. Everywhere else that I had been to, it was behavioral modification, a Synanon-based program, work therapy and stuff like that. And I hadn't been able to really sit with my thoughts and kind of put that last piece together. And this place really facilitated that,
You had to go to devotion every morning, Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm.
They accept anyone of any faith,
Mm-hmm.
but that was a key component. And then on Wednesdays and Sundays, you typically had a church that came in and gave some kind of service.
Yeah.
Did that do anything for you?
Honestly, no. It wasn't the exposure to the material that did it for me. It was the people, honestly.
Okay. Tell me about that, please.
Sure. Carlene was my counselor.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had connected with a couple people in here. A couple people that were also clients, but a couple people that were staff, right? And like Crystal was like conversations, and also like past, we all share stories, right? And learning that her and I had known people in common, and just, we had walked the same paths, right? And so that's a little piece of it or whatever. But the real like eventful things was the fact that you guys didn't push me to do what you wanted me to do. You allowed me to grow into what I was comfortable with. And ultimately, like, I don't have a traditional walk with God, I would say. I don't prescribe to all of the teachings that they have here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that was what was so unique about this place, was that as long as I was making good decisions, right, and following the program rules, you guys weren't pushing anything specific on me. And I was allowed to really explore that relationship with God in a meaningful way with no pressure.
Very personal, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be a personal relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, excellent. And then I love how you cited certain people. Crystal, of course, is amazing, and Carlene is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
There are these community life ambassadors who are here 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Brother, cop, confessor, friends, they're everything, right?
Yeah.
How were the CLAs for you?
So I was in a unique situation. I have at the time I had a 2-year-old daughter, and so I was allowed to actually. You guys facilitated me having her spend the night here and stuff like that. So I did everything that I could to stay out of the way. I was, we have chores here. We have like obligations, right? Like we live here for free. We're allowed to work and we don't pay rent. Like there's a lot of benefits to being here. And so you ask for like a bare minimum, right? Help us keep this place in order. We can clean the hallway or whatever it is. I had very minimal chores. I think I took out the trash for a week one time, and then I like swept a hallway for a week another time,
Yeah.
So I tried to stay out of the way anytime they asked me anything, and I got a little bit of mail here, so I got a lot of FaceTime with Adam specifically and George, and yeah, they were great. I really the beauty of this is that they had also gone through the program, and so they weren't just here from 9 to 5 to get a paycheck. They were here for a specific reason. And they wear that on their face, they wear it in their spirit, the way that they approach situations. And so I tried to stay out of the way, but I got to watch. And so I watched them interact. And they are an integral part of this program for sure. Because, our counselors are busy, administration is busy. They're the people that people are really spending a lot of time with in the administrative side at least. And I think you ask anybody that comes through these doors that spends any amount of time here who has an effect on them, they're going to say the CLAs.
CLAs are amazing. And then there's this other layer of advocates, sometimes called caseworkers in other places. And those advocates, they have fewer students that they work with, and they're geared toward helping you achieve your goals. So was Carlene your counselor or your advocate?
She was my advocate. I forgot the terminology.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool, because it's kind of a counselor, coach, mentor.
Well,
the whole
okay.
thing, right?
So Carlene actually married my wife and I as well.
Really?
And she go. I'm sure they all do the same. They go above and beyond. It becomes like they say advocate, they say counselor. It doesn't fully encompass what they become to every individual that comes through here.
I've seen. Don't mean to interrupt you, but you struck a chord with me, because I have some of my alumni who graduated from here, and I see some of these advocates with such a heart, watching this individual, listening, caring, wanting to know the latest, just absolutely. And occasionally when one of those individuals will come back in, you see that connection with an advocate, with a staff member, with a leader here. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah, that's one thing. I recently opened a treatment center in Houston. I talk about treatment and recovery and the industry constantly, every day, like multiple times a day with people. And I tell people constantly, like, this is such a unique program. There's no other place like it, I don't think. I've never ran into it, I've never heard of it, where they facilitate the things that they do. They offer like such a wide variety of things that they help you with. And they don't, I have a friend that was here, he was going to court in, I think, Orange County or something, and you guys were bringing him twice a month to see his like, that isn't a small distance. That isn't El Cajon. That's a completely different county. That's not a cheap that's not a cheap trip. It's not a small inconvenience, and you guys never even blink on it, it's and that's not the only thing that I've, like, there are so many different stories that I had heard while I was here, and so many different things that you guys did for me as well. You went so far out of your way to help me, and like really I felt like you guys almost babied me sometimes through some of the stuff that I went through, but I needed that at the time, and
because you're healing. I mean, people come in here broken.
Yes, yeah.
And we often want to make sure they have that chance to, deal with some of that dysregulation, slow down, calm down, feel safer, and begin to make better choices. And then just a quick comment about facilities, because you have been learning all about rehabilitation and sober houses and all this you've been looking at and researching for years, and now you're actually implementing those solutions. I have done some work in New England and in Texas, as you know, in Houston. Great places, really great places. Star of Hope is a really amazing place. Senecor does some good things. Wheelhouse does some good things. But I do agree with you. There's more of a holistic, complete package in terms of what's going on at the San Diego Rescue Mission. I mean, they're doing hiking, and they're doing half marathons, and they've got these opportunities to work in the community and get trade skills and on and on. And that, to me, is what's exciting, because I love the notion that God's here and He's helping people change their lives. And you're a great example of that. For alumni in particular that might be watching this, because that's really who I'd love to learn from you, what advice do you offer to someone who is their first day in here, or just graduating, or now out for a while and perhaps wanting to encourage others, or perhaps on a tough day feeling a bit discouraged? What are some of the lessons and insights you can share with that diverse group?
Okay, I'm going to start with something kind of unrelated, kind of envelope that into it, is that people think that they're going to go to treatment, or they're going to spend 28 days in treatment, they're going to come out a different person. And it's just not how it works. There is a long process that has to take place, and it really it has to happen, and it doesn't happen in a month, it doesn't happen in 6 months, it really doesn't happen in a year. But a year is a good amount of time. It's a really good foundational amount of time that allows people to get acutely off the substances, stop suffering from the choices, right? That's a good amount of time. And so when you first come in, it is really hard to, first of all, I'll say this. San Diego Rescue Mission is one of these places that's been around forever. I grew up hearing about it.
70 years.
I grew up hearing about it. I grew up here. This is my home. I grew up right down the street from here, actually. And it's one of the places that you hear about, right? There's a couple other ones. But there's a misconception about what this place is on the streets. And a lot of it is, there's a component of people don't want to get clean. And I understand that. But there's also a severe misunderstanding of what's going on here. People think this is a homeless shelter because people that are homeless, experiencing homelessness, can come here and get shelter. That's really not what it is. And I don't know how to explain what it actually is. But it's, the Mission Academy. And
a 12-month program where you're in classes and training and counseling and whatever resources you. It's a 12-month program, right?
Yeah. And that sounds daunting, right? And so when you come in here, it's day one, you got 364 days left. It's really hard to see that 10,000-foot view, right, that I talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
The reality of my situation was I was willing to do whatever it took. And a lot of people that come through here, I mean, I've talked to the over a year and a half that I was here, I talked to probably hundreds of people. And we all have one thing in common, is that we all deserve better, right? And as like children of God, and like the way that He sees us, it's like not only do we deserve it, He wants it for us, and it's a place that facilitates that, right? And it's so hard to explain actually what goes on here in like such a short amount of time. But the reality is, like, if you are ready, if you're ready to make these life changes, if you're looking for a place to do that, it's here, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I will suggest this, is that if you're not ready, still come, right? But we have the freedom here while we're here. They're not breathing down our necks. Right, they're not drug testing us every time we come in. They're not gonna accuse us of things that we didn't do, right? And so they give us a certain amount of trust while we're here that is easily violatable, right? Mm-hmm. And I saw it over and over and over, where people were not ready, and they make choices, and it leads to them, not being able to stay here anymore. And so if you are ready for those changes, this is a place that will facilitate that. If you're not ready for those changes, still come, and they'll help you with whatever you need help with. But if you are ready, this is a very unique place that will allow you to. I mean, I was here for over a year and a half. They didn't charge me a dime, right? They allowed me to work. I had a really good job while I was here, working construction, doing wet utility work, and I was making good money. And they never asked for a single dime, and
so you're socking that away. I want to make sure that any viewer understands this. After you hit a certain point of earning trust and taking classes, you can stay here, work in the community, sock away every dollar, and then your advocate's working with you to make sure, do some financial management classes so that you're saving and preparing for the future. That to me is an amazing statement right there, and you're growing.
Yeah, that adds to the uniqueness of the program.
And just one more piece to kind of put that in perspective. Someone told me just today, they said, so in this San Diego Rescue Mission, it's about $35,000 a year for one student. And what's amazing about that is that's everything. That's counseling. That's room, board, shelter, support, transportation. That's everything. And $35,000 for a year to literally help an individual start their lives again, build their faith, get healthy, connected to a support community, get prepared for their career being relaunched. That's a small price to pay to change a life, save a life, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the investment is amazing, right? The fact that, this is a faith-based program. You don't take any money from the government.
Right, no money from the government, right?
And so the fact that the community and the donors that you guys have will come together and support. How many beds does this place actually have?
There are 300 beds.
Okay, and so obviously we're not operating at maximum capacity, right? But
and then there's another facility down south, the Lighthouse, that has a number of, let me quickly, let me see how I can tell the stories. So the lighthouses are these places up north and down south, and we hope to have one in East County where an individual can come in and have an emergency shelter, if you will, kind of a navigation center. And so they've got these beds, and they're really geared toward families, and they can do a lot of work. And if they're a good fit, then they come into the one-year program, the Mission Academy.
Yeah, and that's a really good. So that wasn't in place yet when I came in, thankfully, because the situation that I was in was kind of touch and go, right? But God works in mysterious ways. But yeah, I think that is a really good, like a stepping stone, right? The way that you guys are kind of vetting people to put them in this program, because like I said, this is that place. I really believe that this is that that unique place in San Diego where if you're ready to make those changes, you can. But if you're not, right? I don't want to get too specific with the stories, but I had seen while I was here, one person kind of leads a pack, right? And so we like to avoid that.
Leading them in the good or bad direction, we've seen, right?
Yeah, I've seen them both. I've seen it both, and it's unfortunate when something like that happens in here, right? Because we become super familiar with the people that we're here with. We're here together for at least a year, right? The people that I came in with, there was a couple of us that actually stayed for longer than a year, but you become very familiar with the people that you are here with, and it's really sad to see. And the landscape of addiction has changed definitely over the last 5 years. It's become a much more dangerous, a much more, the variables are so much more unknown with the amount of fentanyl in the streets, and just, it's really sad to see. And so it's important to keep a place like this safe. You guys do that really well. I'm really amazed with when I was here, I would talk about it all the time, because obviously, like, that's what I was going through, right? But even after I left, I talked about it all the time, and I still tell people. I get calls all the time. I live in Texas now, but I get calls all the time. Hey, I need to go to this program, and I'll call and connect with Crystal, and whatever happens. But I recommend this place constantly to people.
Cool, and I really appreciate that. As we wind down, we're going to have you meet some leaders here in a moment. They just want to see you. They want to thank you, and they give you a hug. You did some powerful speaking at yesterday's alumni event, that swimming pool ping pong party, and really powerful statement. I'm just wondering if you want to offer for some of those alumni that weren't present, is there a short encouraging message you want to give before we wind down?
Yeah. So everybody's journey is different, right? Everybody's journey that got us here is different. But once we're here, we're all kind of like in this together, And after we leave, we don't have to be alone, right? We create these bonds. There's a community of alumni. There's we are welcome to the staff. I almost feel like I call Carlene all the time. I talk to Tim all the time. We have access to these people after we leave. It's up to us to reach out if we're in need, right? And the reality is that after we take these necessary steps to get our lives back in order, and we do what we need to do to walk across that graduation stage, right? We're no longer alone, and we don't need to ever be. And if you ever need anything, it's really up to you to reach out. But just know that if you do reach out, somebody will answer. Just the possibilities are really endless. The reality about recovery is that the way that I feel is that we all owe a debt once we enter recovery. How you choose to repay that debt is up to you. But staying connected can be a sure way to help you make sure that you're repaying that debt. So stay connected, and just remember that, like, if you made it through this, if you made it through getting clean, if you made it through getting off drugs and alcohol, if you made it through getting off the streets, like, really, what is there that you can't do?
Amen. That accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
Matt Handy, thank you so much for coming back and encouraging others to literally take the vision you had that you described quietly in that career life classroom work-life class, and you quietly described how you wanted to go out and build a business that could help, and you're doing that. You are opening. In fact, why don't you do just a short plug? What is it that you're doing? Just
Sure.
tell us what you're doing.
I've got an outpatient IOP program in Houston. We recently opened. We have a really cool facility. I've got a great team that's working there. Our executive team and our clinical team are just amazing people. Tons of experience, evidence-based treatment. We're doing a lot of group therapy and stuff like that. Looking with an eye towards opening residential in the next year or two, as the company grows, just when it makes sense, you know. And I did this really because I feel like I owe that debt, right? And all of us that get clean are uniquely qualified to help people who are in those shoes, that are actively walking that path of despair. And once we get off that path of despair, I really feel that it is I take it seriously, the debt that I owe, and the reality of what I'm really trying to do is move the needle just a little bit, right?
And you are, and I love the fact that you mentioned, getting off this path of despair. You can pay back, and so we see people like Adam, who's dedicated his life.
Yeah.
His family's dedicating their lives to helping others. You mentioned George. You mentioned Crystal. Carla is obviously an incredible backbone in terms of what's happening here. You're becoming that person. You're becoming a Crystal, a Carla, an Adam, a George.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
Yeah, it's an amazing thing, right?
Some big shoes to step into, man.
Yeah.
So, thank you, and God bless your journey. I want to stay connected with you, man.
Oh yeah, we will.
Anything we can to support you.
Well, I thank you.
Awesome. God bless.
Yeah.